Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, this is your starter guide for Vanessa in Virtua Fighter 5 R.E.V.O. So why Vanessa? Why are we picking Vanessa? Well, Vanessa's got some pretty cool traits about her. Now I know, well, Rooflemonger, actually I'm here because I'm a big fan of Vanessa's very deep lore. I just really appreciate that aspect of it, and I got you. Don't worry about it, I got you. But, you know, why are we picking Vanessa? So one thing that's to scare you out of the gate. Vanessa is one of the more complex characters in the game. Not through any one thing, but specifically, well, two things, I guess. So she's a stance character, and she's a stance character that each stance is its own character. It is not the kind of stance where you do a couple moves, you go back to normal. Each stance is its fully unique character. There's offense and defense. And, well, funnily enough, defense is more defensive, offensive is more offensive. In defense stance, you'll find things that beat basically every single attack in the game as long as you have the right read. You'll also find higher than normal damage for throws. Her throw game is pretty good, but she's not a great combo character. Like, it's not to say there's no combos, because there absolutely is combos, but those combos are going to be fewer and far between. You're going to be winning through basically a lot more just pokes, a lot more just small interactions rather than big home run swings. Conversely, offensive stance is all about the big home run swings. There's lots of ways in this stance to get fairly high to great damage through a variety of means. Offensive stance has lots of combo starters, lots of opportunities for juggles, lots of opportunities for damage. And while the raw throws aren't as strong, it does have the tackle, and the tackle is one of the best utility throws in the game. It's what we call a catch throw, and we're going to be talking about it later. It's actually been heavily nerfed in R.E.V.O. It's everything involving the tackle is just maybe the most nerfed thing in R.E.V.O. It got hit pretty hard. A defensive stance conversely got lots of little buffs. Offensive stance got lots of little nerfs, and one big nerf in everything involving the tackle. But to be perfectly fair and honest, before R.E.V.O., offensive stance was just kind of clearly better than defensive stance in almost every situation. So a bit balancing of the stances, the yin and the yang, right? Now on the flip, offensive stance has, easy damage, easy opportunities to get damage, lots of plus frames, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have much utility. Like, you do damage, you do combos, sure, but not much else, versus defensive stance has utilities for days, right? So that's kind of the give and take. By themselves, each character, if you will, is not great. Defensive stance, you could compare to like Go or Owie. And if you're looking specifically for combat tricks, they're probably better characters. But they don't have offense stance and the mega damage combos and the easy use and stuff like the tackle. Conversely, if you're just looking for the offense stuff, right? Tackle's great, big combos are great, but that's comparable to, say, Brad Burns. And Brad is probably a little better at it overall, but Brad doesn't have defensive stance and all the tricks that come with it, right? So when you look at like who is similar to which stance, there's characters that can do what she does and maybe a little better, but they can't do all of it, and that's the thing. She can do all of it in one character. So over the course of this guide, we're going to be talking about all the aspects of the character, and we're going to start with what, well, normally I would do is like, 10 best moves for each character, but she has friggin' 2 stances, so that's not quite as applicable. So we'll do 7 best moves for defensive stance and 7 best moves for offensive stance. Naturally, you will want to learn every move in the end, but long move lists, all that kind of stuff. So these are some of the moves that are just a bit more important and the ones you should focus on at the start. So first off, let's start with down forward punch and kick, the Boomerang hook. So we'll just start with the big combo starter, just because I know you guys love combos, right? So this is the big combo starter for defensive stance. Like offensive stance, we got a million ways to do it. Defensive stance, we got a lot of little combos. If you want the big combo, Boomerang hook is the way you do it. Now here's the beauty. It is fairly fast for what it is, 17 frames. And it is a high, so it is duckable, unfortunately. But still, 17 frames, pretty quick for what it is. And you don't need counter hits. You don't need anything other than hit the move. Also, it tracks upwards as well. It's a pretty solid move all around, and once you get it, you get combos, sure enough. Now, in R.E.V.O. specifically, the preferred combo route that is universal. So the universal route is something like this. And we'll cover more when we get to the combo section. But yeah, you'll get pretty alright damage, just shy of 80, and even on Wolf it works, right? So it's very universal, and that's really all there is to say. This is your most reliable combo starter when you're looking for higher damage in defensive stance. Editing note here, while I'm here, I feel I should have mentioned this before. So the string, punch plus kick and punch. It's a quick, good little string. It's a natural combo, which is nice. So it's decent to use in and of itself. It is very delayable, the second hit, and this is the thing. The second punch is very close to the boomerang hook, in that specifically on counter hit, it forces the exact same crumple as boomerang hook. Has to be a counter hit, but it is there, and it leads to all the same combos. So if you're looking for that kind of knockdown, fishing with delaying the string is another way to do it. Now let's start getting into the weeds, because defensive stance, boomerang hook is cool because it's big and flashy, but most of the moves are weird with like properties to them. So one of this is just down, forward, and punch. This little mini punch has the unique distinction of being the fastest strike in the game. It is 10 frames. Normally, moves are 12 for a fast move. And a few characters are blessed to have 11 frame jabs. But no, she has a 10 framer. Fast is better, right? So this move is always advantage on hit. And in fact, even though it's the fastest move in the game for a regular strike, it is always very slightly advantage on block as well. And due to the nature of this move being so fast, it lets you just be brazen on offense in certain situations that we'll talk about later that normally you shouldn't be able to given the numbers. But since this is so fast, it sort of defies how the rules normally work, and you just get to bully people with it. Now, it certainly doesn't do a lot of damage. It's just 10 points of damage. It's really not much. But once again, it's the fastest strike in the game, and if it connects in any way, shape, or form, you have advantage. It's really all that needs to be said. Defensive stance wins in a lot of little ways, and this is one of those. Now, going on the trend of defense stance wins in a lot of little ways, we have this giant F-off kick. Now, the kick itself is not little, assuredly, right? But it's what it represents. This is, for what it is, this is an absolutely gigantic, incredibly long-range move. And for the relative length of the move, it's very speedy, and it's full circle tracking. So effectively, this is your ranged attack. It's very strong. There's no avoiding it. It's a mid as well. If it's blocked, like it says -9, but like at the ranges that should be used at, it's whatever, because like you're certainly not in range of getting thrown or anything at this far away, and you can easily just backdash out of the range of anything coming your way. The ranges you should be using this at, which is your long range attack, if it gets blocked, oh well, but there's no real consequence to it. And if it hits, great, run in, start pressuring the opponent. Also to note, when you run in and pressure the opponent, the move itself is also amazing as a pressure tool, as when they wake up, they have to wake up into it. Zero sum, it's a mid and it's full tracking. So like there is no avoiding it. And once again, the pushback on block is really good. So at a bare minimum, you know, like do that and threaten throw is not the worst Oki game in and of itself. And we'll cover it a bit more later on, but a defensive stance is actually extra good at bullying people who get up from the move. So it's just a giant F-off knockdown. It's just a single hit. There's no big combo, but it's just kind of everything a move needs to be. It's long range, fast for what it is. It's unavoidable as it's both a mid and full circle tracking. And if it's blocked at the range you should use it at, it's whatever. So it's just a very reliable workhorse of a move. Now, speaking of a reliable workhorse of a move, we're keeping with the weird little properties moves. This move right here, down, back, and punch. This is not a sexy move. So that's it. What you're seeing here, that's it. There's no combos. There's no counter hit magic. There's no nothing. You give a little bop, it's a mid. That's it. That's all. Like if you do get a counter hit, you get a bit more frame advantage, a bit more damage. Sure, but that's it. So what makes this move special? So despite it being just a little elbow here, this is actually one of the most evasive moves in the game. Actually. This beats highs, throws, and lows. This beats everything but mids. If it's not a mid, this beats it. Straight up. Because there's a lot of factors at play here. So we mentioned before how our big kick's -9, right? So as negative as you can be without being directly punishable. And here's the thing, our down back punch, basically the frame you press the button, it immediately goes under all highs. There's no wind up, it doesn't go live on like a specific frame, it just happens right away. So basically, the second you hit down back punch, you're automatically going under all highs regardless of the frame data. So evasive that way. But here's the thing now, we're going to do negative numbers here, and we'll have a low coming our way, like our universal down punch. Sure. Here's the thing. Am I negative? Yes, sir. -4. And I can't use that quick little down forward one we talked about earlier because they're also crouching because it's a high, right? But, nah, I win. Why do I win? Because it goes under high as soon as you press the button. It also beats all lows. What? It's what we call Sabaki, and we'll talk more about the Sabakis later on because there's more of them than just this. But this move just eats lows. Like here, Aui's running in and doing a low kick, right? And notice how the move just eats her kick. Like the kick happens and then it just sort of goes away. So this move just beats all sorts of low punches and low kicks. There's a couple rare exceptions where it won't. Those are more edge case, but generally it gets just about everything. But once again, goes under high as soon as you press the button and also beats low punches and low kicks. And obviously, as an attack, you beat throws anyways, right? So basically, anytime you're any kind of disadvantage, if you hit this button and they do anything but a fast mid, you win. It's as simple as that, right? So it's not a cool, sexy move, but it is a workhorse of a move. It is one of the ultimate turn stealers of the game. Another move that is just a workhorse, because there's a lot of these for defensive stance, not a lot of big combos, but things that just help win the games in bits and pieces. And the next one is kick, kick. That simple. So kick, kick is a mid and EX high. If you don't know what an EX high is, check the beginner guide. What this is another very long range move. Once again, she has good range. Compared to some of the other characters in the game, her just general range is pretty all right. Especially for this move, just 18 frames mid, not bad considering the range. And the second hit is also full circle tracking. But the big deal here is it turns you to your side. When you are side turned, it's one of the scariest things in the game because all the frame data changes at that point. And she has very, very proficient side turn pressure. And in fact, what makes this move even better now, in R.E.V.O, she got a lot of the new strings, well, old strings, but back, that switch her stance mid combo. And one of these specifically, down kick all three buttons, is amazing and adds a whole new layer to her pressure on side turn because if the opponent is side turned, this becomes a natural combo thanks to the additional frames. So we'll cover it more in its own section, but basically when this connects, you get a mix up and it's a pretty damn good mix up. Basically they have to guess mid for potentially a full combo, low, and if they get wrong on low, then the pressure keeps going. Or they get thrown and she'll just punch you in the head. So check the dedicated section for more. We'll cover side turn stuff. The thing to note, the second hit is indeed a high. It's a high. That's not great. That means you can block the first hit and duck the second. The first hit's a mid. There's no ducking it, but you got to watch out for that. So don't get too obvious. Don't give yourself away. Now, if it's blocked, it's kind of whatever. There's so much pushback. It creates so much distance. The block doesn't matter. And once again, she's really good from further away, right? So this sort of helps her to reset the distance. But if you're a little obvious, then this is what's going to happen and it's going to ruin your day. So don't be too obvious with it. That said, if people know, well, you can punish them for knowing. You can punish them for ducking. But that's kind of the nature of fighting games, play and counterplay. Okay, another just simple workhorse move, because that's what defensive stance is. Down, kick, and guard at the same time. This is basically your big low. Not a lot of low options in defensive stance. And this one's pretty all right. So it's fast enough for what it needs to be. It is also evasive as she crouches and will go underneath highs. And it is also full circle tracking. So there is no avoiding this move. And yes, it's negative on hit. It is indeed plus slightly on counter hit, depending on the distances that you do it at. It can be more plus. That's not really the point though, because it doesn't really matter. That's kind of the thing. You do this to snipe people with a low to keep them honest. And you're mildly safe-ish while doing it since you're ducking while doing it. And when you do it, even if you're a little negative, who cares? Because if you do it, you have down forward punch, which is the fastest strike in the game. And you also have down back punch, which automatically low profiles you again, goes under highs, and also beats other lows. So when you do this, even if you're just a couple frames negative, it doesn't matter because you are very equipped with an arsenal to beat whatever's coming next. Once again, it's not going to launch him. You're not going to do a million damage. That's not what defensive stance is about. But it's just another way to snipe him quickly with a low. And from there, you have exceptionally either fast moves or just good moves with good properties, and there's more besides this as well, they just steal the turn back, right? So even though it says you're negative, the offense isn't necessarily done here. You know, you need a good low to keep people honest, and this is a good low that keeps people honest. And the final of the 7 defensive moves we want to talk about here is down, back, punch, and kick. So this is similar-ish to down, kick, and guard. It's also another low profiling move. It'll go under highs because defensive stance has defensive properties. This is an EX low though. EX low means, unlike a regular low, you can totally block this stuff standing. But that's fine. Why is it? It's -1. Who cares? Hey, remember that down forward punch? Who cares about -1? I'm going to beat whatever you do next. It don't matter to me that I'm -1 here because I got a faster move than you do. Sure. So don't be worried it says -1. Also, if it hits, well, it hits. It does 20 damage. It's all right. Slight advantage on hit as well. And once again, very easy to just kind of pressure after the fact. The real magic, though, is on counter hit. Counter hit just dunks them to the ground. And it's one of the few sources of like mini combos you're going to get. So as an evasive move, and one, which like many of our other moves can be done from quite some distance away, defensive stance has the range, right? You do this and then you get smaller combos. You need damage output, right? And you will win most of your matches in defensive stance through pokes and just like little trades, right? Not the big home run swings. And this is not a big home run swing by any stretch, but it is a reliable source of little damage that, you know, if people, you know, they're going to be very buttonsy, especially at a range. Most of the good further range moves, if people want to contest from this sort of distance, are highs, and this will just soar clear under it. If it get that counter hit, cool, combo time. Also to note though, on block, it does leave you actually crouching. So that means you get access to her while standing punch, specifically like crouch, let go, hit a button. And that move is also valuable as if it hits on counter hit, it does stagger. And I'll show you how the shortcut while we're here to do it while standing. It's just double quarter circle forward and punch. And that'll count as instant while standing. For a lot of characters, it'd be double diagonal and punch, but she already has a diagonal move, so she just does that instead. And this is also a 13 frame mid. Normally the fastest mids are 14 frames, but just like this, we sort of break the rules, right? So while standing punch, if it hits, it's a stagger. And if you stagger, well then, you know, try to hit him, get some extra damage. And if this is specifically blocked, it already leaves you in position to do this because it counts you as crouching. So that's just a little gimmick to try out. Now, moving into offensive stance, we're going to talk about first the tackle because we have to. So tackle is maybe the single most overall nerfed thing in Revo. Everything around it is nerfed, pretty much. Like everything that gives damage is nerfed. There's a lot of ways you can go into the tackle that have been changed up or nerfed in some way, but it doesn't matter because tackle is still very worth doing because it's maybe the best utility throw in the game. One, it is a catch throw, meaning the initial throw itself, the tackle, is inescapable. There is no teching it at all. Like, you are guaranteed to take it if you were in the way. End of story. Also, being a catch throw, it also beats attacks, unlike regular throws. So if you're in the middle of doing an attack, it doesn't matter. As long as the tackle hit first, it's gonna win. 95% of the throws in the game, if you attack, you beat the throw. Not this one. That makes it very good. On open-ended stages, it's the easiest ring out you'll ever get. And keep in mind too, with ring outs, when people are panicking and they're sidestepping, it's a throw. You can't sidestep a throw. So it'll track and just ring you out. And once you're in the mount position, you get 3 throw options. You get a back throw. This is the back throw, 50 damage. You get a neutral throw. This is it right here. And we get 42 damage. And you get a forward throw, which is the most damaging of all these. And this is 57 damage. Still respectable. All these were nerfed. The damage on everything involving this was nerfed. But it's still worth doing. It is still good. Add to the fact we have the step. Many strings will let you go into the step in offensive stance. And step has a bunch of options that are offensive, mostly to stop you from trying to avoid the tackle. And once you finally get him to stand still, then you hit him with the tackle. And then we go into our options. Many moves, like say 4-4 kick, have fake outs where you'll do the move and then hit throw right away. And then you'll fake out the move into the tackle. It's not like a traditional throw. Defensive stance has better traditional throws than offensive stance. But it's just a workhorse of a move. It's a huge part of what makes offensive stance work. And like, if you care about this stance at all, this is part of the reason why you're here. They came after the move with hammers, and it's still a good damn move. That's a sign of how quality the tackle is. Okay. So now we did something cool. We got to go boring now. We have to go boring. This is not cool or sexy, but you need it as forward and punch. Forward and punch is your fast mid in offensive stance. Defensive stance had all those moves that all these weird properties that do all sorts of things at the same time. This is more like a normal character, so you need your fast mid, and forward and punch is your fast mid. A couple things to note. There is some strings attached to this. You do have forward, punch, kick, and the first two hits are a natural combo, FYI. And the third hit is basically, okay, are we going to finish the string or not? As the third hit is heavily delayable. So if they choose to hit a button, you can bop them. Second hit is also heavily delayable. And if you delay that and you get a counter hit on the second hit, then that and the kick is actually a natural combo. Don't just go into the kick though. Forward and punch is -4, so that's fine. Forward punch, -6, a little worse, but okay, we can live with it. But if you do the kick ender, it's -16, so only do it if you believe in it. There's also forward punch kick, and this is a natural combo, and it does slightly launch the opponent. Not in a way that'll get you combos, but really good. You need something quick to launch the opponent over the edge for a ring out. Not much else to say. It's a basic building block. You need the basic building blocks, and this is exactly that. Okay, now back to the fun stuff here. I mentioned before, offensive, defensive stance. Offensive just has a lot more combo starters. Well, enter the Superman Punch. So Superman Punch is 23 frame startup, a little slower, but also, it's got quite a bit of range. It's evasive as it goes over lows, and also, well, it just knocks people down. You see here is an EX high, which is better than a regular high, and it's just a combo starter in and of itself. And you'll always get reliable damage from it. Not the highest tiers of damage necessarily, but you always get reliable damage from it. Now, here's the thing. Okay, so evasive, knocks people down, good range. Like, what's the drawback? Well, did I also mention this plus on block? That's one of the drawbacks, actually. That got nerfed. It used to be even more advantage on block. So now it's only +1. But +1's a pretty good number to be. It's better than, less than +1, right? So the only real downside, actually, is it's just a little bit slower startup. Like, when you're in each other's faces, 23 frames is a little slow. So only really go for it if you already have frame advantage, or if you're looking for a move to come screaming in. But yeah, launches, plus on block, avoids lows. You get very respectable damage, all things told. It's also one of those silly moves where, depending on open or closed stance, you can actually get more damage. Combo works in this way. If you face one way, will drop if you face the other way. So you want to go for the more universal stuff. Unless you're really good at keeping track, then go for it. But yeah, just solid workhorse of a move. Once again, so many things Vanessa got nerfed, but because they're really good, and they remain really good. Next up, we have down, kick, and guard together. So 21 frames, a little slower, and it's not terribly evasive, but it's one of those deals where you need lows to keep people honest, right? And here's the thing. This low has a very nasty counter hit attached to it. So it's a hit throw. When you hit with a counter hit, just hit throw, and then you automatically go into the tackle stance. You didn't have to wind up for the tackle or whatever. As long as you get a counter hit, you just go right into it. And from there, you get all the various options. Like here, if we did fourth throw, that's 79 damage off a low. Like, potentially, they can break that throw. And like I mentioned earlier, everything with tackle, this used to do a lot more damage, actually. It's a little absurd, actually. But still, not much else to say. You always need your low options. And offensive stance is not dripping with low options. You get some strings that are natural combos if they're counter hit, which is nice. I say here, down kick, punch is a 3-hit combo if it's a counter hit, and 51 damage, but the potential reward, even on the lesser throws, is quite a bit higher here, as you can see. There is also down back punch. This is an evasive little low, but nothing to it other than just the base hit, honestly. It does track. It tracks the other way of leg slicer, so that's something. Also, this move tracks. So it has partial tracking, which is very, very handy. And actually, the specific way it tracks, the next move we're going to talk about tracks the other way, and they're very complementary towards each other. So let's go to the next move, and it's one of our highlight moves. Our next move is the Death Scythe. Very ominous, right? So how we do it is hold forward and kick. Not tap forward and kick, because that's a different move. Hold forward and kick. And I'll tell you right now, here's how you trick the move. Just do quarter circle forward, hold forward, and kick, and you'll just do it instantly. If you do quarter circle forward and just hit kick normally, you just get the regular kick. You have to do quarter circle forward, hold kick, and it'll trick the game into thinking you're doing instant hold forward. So that's how you do it. That's the trick. So what's special about this move? 1, EX high, not a regular high, EX high, so that's better. Fairly fast for what it is. If you do it from further ranges, it'll hit later in the active frames, so say 17, but point blank it's 16. Very safe on block, -6 with monster pushback. Like to the point where the negative number doesn't actually matter. You're effectively just resetting neutral, like even point blank. Doesn't matter, jabs won't even connect from that far. And then from that point, you can either scream back in, or maybe use like back kick and guard to try to trick them. All right, so fast-ish, safe-ish, and the motion's a little weird, so what's the deal? The deal is counter hit. See how Pi just falls over like a sack of crap? So considering how relatively fast and safe the move is, the fact that this is one of your major counter hit launchers, you can get some very respectable damage off this. Especially like the middleweights and the lightweights. Vanessa can really abuse them mid-screen. Mid-screen, 99 damage. That's a lot for mid-screen. Heavier characters, depending on the character, you're not going to get necessarily like as grand combos. But still, you'll get respectable damage. So it's just a combination of fast, safe, basically low risk, go for it. And also, as mentioned before, it tracks. So this move here, as you can see, it tracks one direction. And the other counter hit we talked about before tracks the other direction. She's actually quite good at it. And keep in mind too, if someone is evading, evade, hit him with this move. If you catch someone evading with this move, this counts as a counter hit. So it'll just automatically go to the combo. You don't actually have to hit him out of anything. If you actually catch the evade, boom, go down like a sack of potatoes. It's one of those moves, anytime you get like a decent amount of frame advantage, it's one of your go-tos. Like right here, counter hit forward punch is +7. That's very plus. And that effectively means, okay, now immediately guess head kick to die. And keep in mind, it is an EX high. It will beat crouch punch. Or maybe get thrown, right? It's effectively a simple choice. Anytime you get any real frame advantage, either try to head kick them or go for a throw. That's kind of the basics. There's more layers, yes, I know, but this is kind of the basic go-to. Our next move to talk about is forward punch and kick. So it's just a quick little mini launcher. Many characters have a 14 frame quick-ish high launcher, and this is exactly that. It's not the home run swing like Death Scythe is, but it also does not need a counter hit. It just launches no matter what. Generally, the combos you're going to get from it are going to be on the smaller side, but, you know, damage is damage. It's not necessarily the home run Hail Mary launcher. Also, nice little benefit is it's also quite safe to do. It is fast, and it is also quite safe. It is -6, and it is also -5 if you do it from a little further away. Point blank, -6. Which means that most distances you would use this from, you can actually do the fuzzy guard setup after the fact. As long as it's not point blank -6, if you're even like a little further away, it'll be -5. And then, well, you're good to go defensively. And of course, if it hits, hey, get your damage in, right? Once again, not huge home run damage. It's another one of those moves where it's a little silly because if you are in closed or open stance, it actually opens up certain combo routes. Like the generic B&B does 58, but if you are in the very specific stance, then against some characters you can get 70, but the game's weird like that. That's just how it is. And the last of the offensive stance moves we'll cover for this section is the Hawk Strike. So this is just the big home run swing. You don't need a counter hit. There's no caveats. It's a mid. You can't duck it. This is just, if this connects, big launcher, nothing else needed. Now, like many other things for Vanessa, this was nerfed in the R.E.V.O patch, despite the fact that it's quite obviously airborne, as she's well in the air. It no longer counts as airborne, so it is difficult for her to go over lows, other than just physically being over them. She has no more invulnerability properties against lows. That's fine, I guess. You're still just here to launch fools, and it does that very well. It is another move that is very susceptible to which weight class your opponent is. But as you can see here, like the damage mid-screen, no wall, no nothing, is still going to be pretty damn good. Thankfully though, in the R.E.V.O update, due to the weight system changes, this works on almost everybody in the game. It just won't work on Jeffrey, Taka, or Wolf. Before this would work on Jean, but he needed a counter hit to get the extra height. Now it just works regardless. Now, like many of the Mega guaranteed launchers, it is not safe on block, nor should it be, but you can make it safe on block. If it hits as a side turn hit specifically, it'll be -9 instead of -15 because of the advantage frames in side turn, and the fact that it does so much damage, it gets even more advantage frames on side turn. So -9 is not great, but it's not guaranteed punishable. So this is a great move for just trying to, do your evasion, and then when you do your evade, swing for the fences. If the move's kind of quick, they can still recover and block in time, but you're safe. And if the move happens to be a bit slower, well, enjoy the damage. Not much else to say. It's the big home run swing. If you want big damage that has no caveats attached, this is what you need, and it's exactly that. All right, so let's enter the throw zone and talk about things about throws that didn't really mention warrant anywhere else. So 1, defensive stance is just better with throws than offensive stance, other than the lack of the tackle. There's really only a couple throws you need to know about. We have half circle forward throw, and this got buffed. It actually does a little bit more damage than it used to. We got half circle back throw, and this is our big one. This does 70 damage, which is very respectable. And those are sort of the big two. Of course, there's neutral throw, which you need just to keep the triangle of throw breaks going. The only other real throw to note here is we also have back throw, which is just a straight up wall splat. You are near the ring edge, this will be a ring out. If you're near a wall, it causes an automatic stagger. And sure enough, you will get combos from this. And pretty good combos as well. So when your back's to the wall, well, put their back to the wall, basically. The other thing to note for defensive stance and defensive stance only is you do indeed have grappler style crouching throws. So we have down forward, down, and down back. They're not quite as damaging as like a Wolf, nor should they be. No, this isn't her primary game because she gets to do so many other things that Wolf doesn't get to do, but it's just a really good tool in the toolbox. And for people that you fight that always wake up with side turn techs, you can indeed scam them with a crouch throw as they wake up. More details in the 10 essential tip guide if you want to know how to do that. There's a pretty complete throw game in defensive stance. Offensive stance, not as much. Our big throw, our half circle forward throw here, it does 60 damage, which is less than either of the two big throws in defensive stance. And our half circle back throw puts us into the tackle position, right? Which is not bad for damage. Like max cash out damage is pretty good, actually, 77. But the problem is they get to break it twice. They can break this throw, and then they can break the next throw from the tackle. So generally just to safer go for the regular back throw, which does 50, which is pretty average. Once again, the main throw for offensive stance is specifically you're betting everything on the tackle, because that's sort of the big deal. Although one thing to note, offensive stance, half circle forward throw against the wall, did get a damage buff. So this will now do 75. That's some pretty tasty damage. So if the opponent's up against the wall, it's something to keep in mind. Now, another very unique concept for Vanessa is she has one more wake up option than the rest of the cast. That is thanks to the intercept position. So you can manually enter this in defensive stance. It's not that great, honestly, to do it that way. And yeah, you just kind of lie with your butt on the ground. And it's a mini stance. You got some moves from it. Some of them are pretty interesting, like hit throws. You got a full-on grab as well, where she just crushes you. But the thing is, when you get knocked down, you can wake up into this stance, and you can wake up to it regardless of which stance you're in. So normally when you get knocked down, you can tech to the side, or you can do like a slow wake up into a back roll, or slow wake up a roll with like a kick or something. You got those options. Those are universal, right? But if you hit back and all three buttons, you can wake up into the stance. You specifically have to land on your back and roughly feet towards the enemy, head away from the enemy. So if you're like in a weird angle, it won't work. But if you do, you can get some surprise wake up options people are not expecting that do very respectable damage. So you know, don't always wake up to it, because it's not a great stance offensively. Like, it's gimmicky, it's slow to the ground, people don't know how to beat it. It can cause some issues, especially because the last hit has the 21 damage threshold, so it will stagger on the wall. So this is actually a combo, and it's a pretty high damage combo at that. But basically keep in mind that she just has one more option than the average character, and that's actually super valuable, because you can always keep the opponent guessing when you wake up. Once again, it'll always put you in defensive stance no matter what stance you're in. But just something to know, she's a character that's like specifically a weird grab bag of tricks, and having an extra wake up option is certainly something different that the rest of the cast doesn't get. Now, another very big part of Vanessa is defensive properties. Naturally enough, because she has offense and defensive stance, right? So defensive stance specifically has many moves called Sabakis, and also it has an auto parry. So if you just stand perfectly still and hit no buttons, she'll automatically parry all high punches. And she'll give the opponent a little bit of a wallop and leave you at pretty decent frame advantage. And that's it, that's all. You don't got to press any buttons. It's just a read. If you know they're going to start mashing punches and all that kind of stuff, let go of the controller, she'll do the counter for you. But there is more active offense, defense, or defensive offense, however you want to put it. And that is the Sabakis. So now we already mentioned one of these moves. That is down, back, and punch. So this move here, the defensive elbow, is amazing. Because on top of it being a low profile move, highs will naturally just go over its head anyways. It also specifically is tailored to beat low punches and low kicks. See here, Lao's coming to kick me in the shins, right? And even though I'm doing my move quite a bit later than him, you can see the move basically just gets eaten. Like, the move should connect, but it doesn't, because my move is tailor-made to beat low punches and kicks. So when I'm doing this move, on top of just doing the move to attack, I can rest assured I'm beating highs by going low, and I'm beating low punches and low kicks. So I'm beating a lot of the moves in the game all at once. And she has more moves like this. Like back, forward, punch, and kick. This move specifically, on top of just giving you a big wallop, and it was also buffed in this version of the game to always knock down no matter what now. That's sort of the defensive mode specialty is, you know, little smaller combos. But the thing is, this move also beats all high and mid kicks and knees. All right, Lao's coming to kick me in the head here, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. But now I still win, I still win, I still win. As long as the move didn't already hit me, I will crush his attack. And this is applicable for all high, mid kicks, and all high and mid knees. It won't beat a punch, not designed to do that. But back, forward, punch, and kick basically beats every kind of, well, most kinds of kicks that are not lows. Conversely, now we have back, forward kick. So before this was a punch that beats kicks, this is a kick that beats punches. So here he's going for the mid elbow. And once again, nah, not happening. I will always win. This beats all high and mid punches and elbows. And you can be at terrific frame disadvantage and it doesn't matter. As soon as you press that button, you're beating all sorts of punches and elbows, highs and mids. Now it doesn't beat everything, because certain moves have weird properties, like it can't beat a headbutt. Headbutts are their own special class of move. But it will beat pretty much the majority of punches and elbows as long as they're high or mid. So if I stand still, I beat all high punches. If I do back, forward, kick, I'll beat all high and mid punches and elbows. And also this has a string as well. And if it connects even on a regular hit, it leaves you a monster frame advantage. If I do back, forward, punch, kick, I'll beat all high and mid kicks and knees. And if I do down, back, punch, I'll beat all lows, punches, and kicks. So like, you basically have an option to beat every kind of move in the game effectively. She even has a move like this from her intercept position. That's the brush off, punch and kick. So if the opponent attacks with a low punch or kick, you literally brush them off and you get massive frame advantage and you get a free combo. Now, next up, let's talk Intruder Step. So Intruder Step is only for offensive stance and stops certain strings. So effectively do your string and then hit forward. So like normally back punch kick, but if I do back punch kick hit forward, she'll cancel the kick into the step. But same here, kick punch, step, forward, kick, kick, punch, step, back, kick, step, down, kick, punch, step, and down, forward, kick, kick, step. So sometimes you do the full string, sometimes you fake out the move. And that's basically it. It's to keep the opponent on their toes. Because say you do this move enough, just to keep them honest, they're used to it, and then all of a sudden, instead of that kick coming out, they get chucked and they get their head cracked in or their arm broken, right? That's sort of the main purpose, is do your stock strings, and every now and then you can duck forward, do your tackle, or you have a punch or kick follow-up. The punch follow-up is just a mid crumple. It knocks him down no matter what. And from that, you don't necessarily like get the world, but you get some respectable damage. You get some very respectable damage. And step kick is just a big old, just tumbling stagger. And if you're on the ball and they're not on the ball, yes sir, this will cause a state where you can get a launch into mega damage. The main deal though is it's to trick the enemy. You know, when they're expecting other things, other strings, other options, then you just kind of go like, nah, and just kind of rush in and go for your move. There is one situation where you can force the issue though. That is specifically off back kick into step. Back kick into step has enough frame advantage that it's not like, you know, a visual mix up like, haha, I tricked you, I slipped under, and then, you know, guess. It's like, no, you can know this is coming all you want. This is a hard guess. So here, the opponent Vanessa is going to hit it, and then go into step and do mid punch. And when you know it, like here I'm mashing punch, it's not going to work. Here I am mashing down punch, it's not going to work. These are my fastest options. Unless you have, which, you know, Vanessa does, because she's a weird character, a move that's like 10 frames. So Vanessa's not as susceptible to the mix, right? Like if this connects, you actually kind of got to hold the mix, as the punch will connect. Much the same here. Punch doesn't work against the kick. Stand punch doesn't work against the kick. Unless you're in this exclusive Vanessa 10 framer club, regular attacks just won't cut the butter. You have to stop it. And like, yes, naturally, you can step this stuff, sure. Like it's not game over. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, oh wait, tackle beats sidestepping and tackle beats blocking the mix. So it's an actual legitimate mix. It has to be off a back kick that connected. It can't be on block. It has to hit. If it's blocked, do your thing, then just kind of block. Like, don't risk your life over it. You're still safe. You know, I guess you can try to be cheeky. It's not to your benefit. But if it hits back kick and offensive stance into step, it's a legitimate mix-up. So it's simple. There's only 3 choices. Mid-punch, mid-kick that staggers, and throw. But it's also the tackle throw, which is one of the best throws in the game. And then you just kind of go from there. Now we're going to go into the basics of side turn mix and why it's important. Vanessa is one of the characters that has several reliable ways to force the opponent to side turn against their will. And this is a pretty powerful property. When you're side turned, one, the frame data is all different. Things that are plus on block are more plus, things that are negative on block are less negative. And certain moves have special properties if they hit a side turned enemy. And now let's just sort of go through the basics here. We'll start with kick, kick, and defensive stance. So when you nail kick, kick, and defensive stance, well, you are +5 and the opponent is side turned. It takes 3 frames for the opponent to turn around to do anything. That includes blocking. It doesn't matter if it's an attack or a block. It takes 3 frames for them to turn around and do whatever they're going to do. So effectively, look at +5 as +8. And then say for like the bigger deals, look at +9 as +12, which is really good because it guarantees a crouch punch. So, okay, we hit them with this. What do we do now that they're side turned? I'll introduce you to layer 1 of the mix-up, and everything else comes out after this. This is the most important layer. After the side turn, if the opponent hits any button other than block, you just do down, forward, and kick. And then that'll crumple them. This specifically has a side turn crumple. If it hits regularly, like it's a good enough little poke. Like it's got some range to it, I guess, right? And it gives decent frame advantage, but it pushes them back. It doesn't do anything special by itself. It's specifically keyed to give this counter hit crumple on side turn. Many characters have a move like this. For Vanessa, though, it's just really easy to force the issue, as she has multiple ways to force you to side turn against your will. So you just do this, and okay, did you hit any button? I hit you with my side kick, and you crumpled, and then, well, you know, defensive stance doesn't have much mega combo opportunities, but this is one of them. If they hit any button when they're side turning and do this move, you're just going to get very healthy damage no matter what. That's very, very strong. So now layer 2 is, well, okay, I'll just block that stuff. And it's a mid, so I'll block it standing. Sure enough. Side turn throw. Get bopped in the head. And she doesn't have any special side turn throws from defensive stance specifically, but it's still the same 3-way break. Like, it's the same animation, but if you hold the direction, you got to break it that way. It's not a high damage throw, but it's still an option. Now, what if, well, I'm scared of the throw, so I'll crouch block. It'll go under the high, right? But that's not advisable, because this has a special property if it hits you while you're crouching in side turn, and that it'll force you back up standing and also at +11. Now keep in mind, plus 11 is actually plus 14 because the 3 extra frames to turn around and do anything, right? So if you duck and you get hit by that medium kick, you know, that was trying to catch you mashing, but okay, it caught you crouching instead, then there's guaranteed damage coming your way. Now keep in mind though, even though it takes frames to turn around though, crouching is instant, so no, you can't get punch kick. Like, that's kind of the first thing you'd go, but even with the weird rules of side turn, you're still allowed to crouch frame 1. But since our special little jab that we've talked about many times here is 10 frames, it just actually hits as an actual combo. Like, you don't even need to worry about those bonus frames. It's just faster, so good. You can also go for an instant while standing punch. That is also guaranteed. Once again, to do that, just do double quarter circle forward and punch. It'll count as while rising, while standing from the punch immediately. And that's a 13 frame mid. So that'll connect when you're effectively plus 14 after the side turn hit. We're just looking to maximize our guaranteed damage in that scenario. But once again, once you get any side turn, it's all about the threat of eating that side turn kick. Because all the damage in the world comes from that. You got to make them scared of that, scared to hit buttons, scared to do anything. And once they start blocking, then throws become an option. Crouching isn't an option because they eat that when they're crouching. It's still a combo. And she's actually had a major blessing in this specific patch that reinvigorates this whole thing. That is down, kick, and then all 3 buttons. So this is a stance switch combo. So one, down and kick got buffed. It now tracks to one of the sides. So one of the options you have when you're in this mix is the sidestep. And sidestep, well, throw beats sidesteps, right? That's why throw is part of the mix. On top of you just being still and blocking, if you try to sidestep, you get thrown, right? But now this helps reduce the sidestep portion of it. And if this hits on side turn, it's a natural combo due to the frame advantage. So that's kind of a big deal. So now there's a third layer. We have the kick, we have throws, and we have low into stance switch. And if low into stance switch hits, you have mega frame advantage. Now you're plus 7. And now you're in offensive stance. And they're still side turn. They didn't switch yet. So you successfully get the combo. And now the mix-up's still happening just in offensive stance instead of defensive stance. And yes, of course, they can crouch block to defeat that as well. And evade one of the 2 directions. And if they crouch block, this forces them to stand. And we just repeat what we mentioned before. Now, in offensive stance, forward, kick, kick will also side turn the enemy, much the same as defensive stance, kick, kick. And also, it's just slightly more advantage. It's plus 6 instead of plus 5. And offensive stance, kick and guard, which is a big home run swing, leaves them at plus 9. Since it's plus 3 frames, plus 9 is plus 12, crouch punch is actually guaranteed. They cannot block it. Like, consider this a combo. It doesn't show as a combo, but it is a combo. And then that leaves them at plus 6, which is the same thing as this. So basically we're working plus 6. So in offensive stance, what do we do now? Or conversely, if we managed to mix them here and then went into offensive stance from defensive stance, what are we doing? So our base building block now is forward, kick, and guard, which is just a big turnaround kick here. So if we hit any buttons, considering normal timing, even here, fastest timing to round crouch punch, I will not beat it. I'll get hit as, even though I'm facing the enemy at this point, you can clearly see, but it still counts as me doing a button from side turn. So I get hit with the side turn crumple. And the side turn combo here, it does inflict a little gravity scaling. So you won't necessarily get your biggest combos, but neither will you be disappointed with the damage, especially if you can get near a wall. So like the damage is still very much there. And just like before, no matter how we get there, next layer is do throws. This move here, forward, kick, and guard, unlike the other move, if they're crouching, it just automatically causes the state. It doesn't need a counter hit, doesn't force a stand like before, it just does it. So it's very valuable that way. So this move also exists in defensive stance, so why aren't we doing it in defensive stance? Because defensive stance is just 1 frame slower than the side turns for offensive stance, which means we can jab through it, versus the other kick that we mentioned. So that's why. So defensive stance side turn mix is a little bit more layered. Offensive stance side turn mix, not as layered, but due to that extra frame, it's just more damaging, more potential. And we could really spend all day on this. It's a very nuanced subject. There's actually more to go over, but this is the 101, because I'm probably already confusing half of you anyways. But rest assured, turn them to the side, balls in your court, scary mix-up time. Okay, so we're now in the combo section. We'll start with defense, then go to offense, then go to wall stuff. In the interest of moving things along, I'm going to be pretty quick with these. If there's something that interests you, then, well, stop and rewind the video. We'll start here with back and punch. So this will basically be a free combo, free 2-hit combo, lead to a stagger, and then go into pressure from there. Boomerang hook. So Boomerang hook, we already talked about it earlier in the video. Very good move. One of your main sources of combo damage here in defensive stance. And we're using Wolf for all these combos because he's the heaviest non-Taka character. I want this as universal as possible. So at the end of that, you're now in offense stance. And specifically here, since we're in offense stance, and we got knocked down here, we can kind of run forward, go for tackle, go for whatever pressure after the fact. It's a good combo like that. Against Taka, you want to do something like this. Down, kick, punch, combos if it's a counter hit, and if it's a counter hit, you get a small combo. Remember back, forward, punch, and kick? That is our kick counter move. It always knocks down, so you can always get a combo, but say you do catch a kick, it'll just do a bit more damage. Down, back, punch, and kick. This is our low profile EX slow. So always advantage on hit, and if we get a counter hit, it'll also knock down. And we do get a small combo from this. Back, back, kick, and guard. This is actually in both stances. This is a universal move. But in defensive stance, it'll always crumple on regular hit. Mostly useful for just catching big whiffs you know are coming. Like say when you know your opponent's going to do a wake-up kick. Now moving over to offensive stance combos. Trying to keep everything as universal as possible. So we're using Wolf, who is the heaviest character in the game that's not Taka with his unique rules. So let's start with the Superman Punch, our plus on block, evading lows launcher. You're not going to get the most damage off of this, but still respectable. It is extra strong though against the lightweight characters, as you can get a different combo route, and a much better one. On the flip though, since Taka's so big, we gotta do a slightly different combo. It won't do as much damage. What about the Death Scythe head kick? Well, there's a lot of weird particulars to certain combos, so I'm just going to show you the most universal route that'll always work. It does a few points less damage, but it's reliable, and that's what matters the most. What about the big launcher? Well, this one's a little particular. There's a combo for Taka, there's a combo for Wolf and Jeffrey, and there's a combo for everyone else. Taka is bigger, so you're just going to do less damage because of his unique rules. Anyone other than those three, even the other heavier characters, thanks to the weight changes in R.E.V.O, you're going to tear them in half. Now our pile bunker, so forward, punch and kick. This is our little but fast knockdown. I'll tell you right now for Taka, like, forward, kick, that's all you're going to get off Taka. He's just too big. For everyone, for most of the cast, this is the generic combo. Decent but reliable. For the lightweight characters, though, well, middle to lightweight, you get something a bit more. That one can be a bit more finicky depending on the character. It's not like 100% reliable like the other one is, but the option is there for the character-specific matchup. Okay, now we're going to go over wall combos. Wall combos are the fancy combos, and the whole concept's actually quite a bit easier than you think. First, we're going to identify are wall stagger moves, moves that'll bounce them off the wall. In defensive stance, that's back and punch, and it's also extra handy because this move is also advantage on block, so if they get blocked, like, kind of whatever, right? So, okay, that's our wall stagger here. As long as we're mildly near the wall, it'll stagger. In offensive stance, it's forward, forward, and punch. So we want to use this as the setup. We're staggering them against the wall either way, either stance with one of these moves, stagger, and then we're going to blast them with forward, forward, kick, and guard. This move is now universal, as of this patch, universal to both stances, so it doesn't matter. And it gives us our splat that we want. Now, if you can get a wall splat without the stagger, by all means, we can skip the step, right? It's all about getting them on the wall. This is the setup. The stagger is just the easiest way. Once again, defensive stance, back punch, forward, forward, kick, and guard. Offensive stance, forward, forward punch, forward, forward, kick, and guard. These are natural combos. It's basically impossible to stagger break them. And then once we get set up, we'll do our combo. So we'll start with the mostly universal defensive route first, then the offensive route. And there you have it. It's pretty simple. This is even against Wolf, who's one of the second heaviest character in the game, right? The size of the character generally doesn't matter when it comes to wall splats and all that kind of stuff. Generally, very light characters can get like an extra hit or two. Very small. This is the pretty much universal combo routes for offensive and defensive stance. Once again, the recipe's simple. Stagger them, and after you stagger them, you splat them, and once you splat them, well, then it's combo time. Go from there, get over 100 damage, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So that's the Vanessa guide. Overwhelming? Well, you chose to dive into the deep end of the pool. Vanessa is 2 characters in one, and, well, that's just the name of the game, I guess. You wanted to pick the waifu, you gotta accept the responsibility that comes with that. That said, she's really fun. She can do so many things. Like, everyone's got their own little pigeonhole things. Vanessa, being 2 characters, can do just so much more than the rest of the cast. And hopefully this video has taught you a lot of what is possible. If you got to the end, please leave a like. It helps a lot. And other than that, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. And go out and play some Virtua Fighter.